Hey everyone, this is Yuki, also known as Psychic Otaku 182, and this is my channel. So this is kind of a different video. I'm really not sure how to describe this. It all started because of a Skype conversation that I was having with a really dear friend whom I care about so much. And we were talking about problems in the world today. Now, for me personally, I'm an American, so we were primarily discussing American problems, because we're both Americans. But I understand that an American problem doesn't necessarily affect the rest of the world. The thing that really got to me, though, is we're discussing this, and there's a feeling of hopelessness. A feeling that, what can I possibly do? And I can't help but get irritated by that sometimes. Or heartbroken, or upset that we feel that way. I mean, think about this. In our information age, we live in a world where a 25-year-old guy who created a goofy social networking site that half of us don't even bother to go on to very often can become a multi-millionaire who's now retired. I refer to Facebook. A 16-year-old girl can become the owner of a hugely popular jewelry store, Origami Owl, which is really cute. You should definitely check it out. And a kid on helium can become one of the most watched things on YouTube, along with the talking orange. If those things can become so insanely popular that they change the world, or that they become an international phenomenon, then we really have no excuse. All these problems that we have in our world, there's no real excuse anymore. People want to talk about, oh, I didn't expect that this person was going to make this choice. Talking about, like, elected officials. Bull crap. If you ever actually stopped and did your homework and looked at who they are and what they believe and their voting record, you have a pretty good idea of what they have, of what they're going to vote for. Is this always the case? No. Because sometimes our politicians make decisions based upon, okay, I will vote for something that I'm not entirely supportive of. In return, you'll vote for this piece of legislation that I really need to get passed. That's how this works. Is it right? Not necessarily. Is it the way the world works? Yeah. And it's probably never going to change. As horrible as it is to say, humans haven't changed much at all in thousands and thousands of years. We're still a lot like our Roman ancestors, like the Romans and the Greeks and the Egyptians and everyone before them. The difference? We have shinier toys that do more. So, I plan on posting more videos. I actually plan on starting a new channel. I want to get a better camera so I can do tutorials. But I am going to talk about this a little bit more. This is just sort of getting it off my chest and out of my mind. But my basic thing is, if you see something that you want to change in the world, don't just sit there and go, gee, I wish I could change that. Figure something out. Rosa Parks changed the world just by sitting in a bus seat. I mean, stop and think about that for a moment. That doesn't exactly seem like a revolutionary concept, sitting in a bus seat. But she completely changed the world as we know it. Clara Barton and Florence Nightingale, the woman who pioneered the nursing profession as a viable, respectable profession for young women, Florence Nightingale, and the woman who created the Red Cross, Clara Barton. Both of whom were hugely, hugely important. But, I mean, my point is, small steps, one small act, can change the world as we know it. It doesn't necessarily have to be something big. You know, I mean, just think of everything that has been changed. Slavery is ended. Segregation was ended. Does that mean the world's perfect? No. There's still slavery in this world. There are still men and women who are in slavery in other countries. Some of it is legalized. Some of it is disguised as marriage. But it still exists. Just because it has a different name doesn't necessarily make it any less slavery. Child labor still exists. In the US, no. But in other countries, yes. Just because something has been changed in one area doesn't mean it's changed the world over. No matter what we do, we may never stop working on a better tomorrow. My point is, though, even if all you do is put your name down on the membership rolls of a group that has similar interests and occasionally go to their little parties, or whatever you want to do, call them, their little get-togethers, you still have to do something. Okay? So the next time you see a problem and you think, man, I wish something would happen to change that, why don't you try? Maybe you have issues with the fact that there are people going hungry. It's called the Manna House. You can donate canned food. It's not going to fix everything, but you can still at least try to help. And you can at least try to make a difference and try to raise awareness. That garage that you've got that's full of stuff that you don't want and don't need and you're not sure what to do with, there's organizations that you could donate it to that could use it. For example, Habitat for Humanity, not far from where I live, it has what's known as the Restore, where you can donate toilets, big pieces of furniture, kitchen utensils, things like that, so people can get those. They can buy them secondhand. And the proceeds go to Habitat for Humanity. Goodwill does something similar. They create jobs in the community, sometimes for people who might not be able to get a job otherwise. Or, barring that, just sell it and donate the proceeds. There's a lot of options. Even if all you ever do is donate to an established charity that you already know and trust, like Habitat for Humanity or the Salvation Army, you're still doing something. Maybe it's not huge. Maybe you'll never end up in the history books. But considering some of the people that are in the history books, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, do you really want to be in the history books along with people like, oh, I don't know, Jesse James? Adolf Hitler? I mean, okay, that one's kind of a horrible example, but my point is that not everyone in the history books is a good guy, and that sometimes the best people aren't the ones who make history. I mean, think about this. Orville and Wilbur flew at Kitty Hawk, but does anybody ever put Mama in the history books? I mean, think about that. But anyway, so I guess this is just kind of my push for you to try something new and to go for something, you know. You're never going to change the world if all you do is sit at home and do nothing. Even if you are stuck at home, you can still do something. You can make things, you can network, you know. So don't just sit there and say, I can't do anything. Don't just sit there and say it's hopeless. If you see a problem, acknowledge it, and then try to change it. But don't ever let yourself become helpless. Once you become helpless, you essentially lose everything that makes you yourself. So, just a thought. Questions, comments, leave them in the box below.